Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be showing my favorite Valentine's Day palettes. Welcome back, and today we're doing another palette favorites video. So we're discussing Valentine's Day. I'm always gonna say this disclaimer. Valentine's Day in my country, it's not really that big of a celebration. I mean, it's more of a friendship celebrating day. We do, for example, with my husband, exchange cards and buy something small, but it's not that big of a deal. I do know in US, for example, it's like huge. People have special decorations and fancy dinners and everything, but it's not that big here. In this one, I think this could also be categorized as a shop my stash kind of video in terms of the fact that all of these are older releases. All the Valentine's palettes, for example, for this year that I have been eyeing have been more or less indie palettes, and most of those indie palettes are going to be launching either on Monolith Shop during the week that this video is going to go live, or they're just gonna launch on the websites that I perhaps want to buy them directly from, again on the week that this video goes live. So there isn't any like new Valentine's releases in this video. These are all older palettes, but I do hope that this kind of video maybe inspires you to like look into your stash and see that maybe instead of buying something new, can you just have a nice Valentine's look with a older palette. This video could also be called the collection of my pink and red palettes, but I think because that's the theme of the sort of whole Valentine's Day, we are kind of like there's a certain reason why these kind of palettes are chosen for this kind of video. But anyway, for this one I do actually have palettes from each category. So I do have some from Drugstore, then I have a couple of high-end ones, and most of the palettes again are indie palettes, but we do have like everything from different price points, so you do have some like choices. So if you are interested in one of these palettes, some of these have been limited edition, but some of these I do think you can still get, so we have something for each price point. So let's start with the Drugstore ones. From Drugstore, I'm first gonna show the palette that was actually one of my top ranking Drugstore eyeshadow palettes from last year. So first Valentine's recommendation would be this one. So this is one of the Revolution Icon palettes, and this is called the True Icon. And I do know that this is probably meant to do Patrick Ta's one of his palettes, and but I haven't tried any of Patrick Ta's palettes because those haven't been inspiring to me, but because of the price point and because Revolution redid their eyeshadow palettes during last year, I wanted to try the new palettes out, and I do have to say this formula is definitely like 100 times better than Revolution has done before. I'm gonna show a close-up of this one. So I think this is more leaning towards the sort of bronzy. This is like almost leaning maybe to the bronzy side rather than to this sort of traditional pink and red side of Valentine's Day, but you can actually get quite many pink, like more red leaning looks with this one. I think this is a good Valentine's palette, especially if you are maybe more into the like sultry Valentine's look rather than having this sort of very bright like bright pink or bright plain red looks for your Valentine. So if you're maybe looking for something more neutral that has also a bit of like red leaning shades in them, then this could be a good palette. Only thing I'm not such a big fan of are the cream shades on this one, but they recently did launch a new palette within this line, and it seems that with that one they have gotten rid of the cream shades. So I hope in the future when they come out with more of these, then they won't have the cream shades anymore. So the cream shades are not something that I'm a fan of, but altogether great quality, and especially if you are into more of the sultry Valentine's Day theme. Then something that I have always, or not always, but a few times said that this is actually an alternative to another high-end palette that I'm gonna show in terms of the fact that how many similar looks you can get with this one. And this again goes to the theme of sultry Valentine's. So By Beauty Bay has these they have these palettes in different size versions. I have the rich palette in 16 pan version. You can get this in a bigger version if you want so, but this is basically how this looks, and this is definitely goes to the side of like having, if you like your more burgundy leaning reddish sultry neutral looks rather than again like plain old like for example pink looks. And you will be seeing the palette later, but if you, for example, eyed the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude, but you want it in a smaller version, or you want something similar, but at a cheaper price point, you can get like similar looks, not exactly identical looks, because this is missing, for example, the pink tones and some of the like lilac tones that the sort of Naughty Nude palette has, which you will be seeing later in this video. But if you're looking for something similar that kind of gets you something similar but at a cheaper price point, then I would look into this one. And by Beauty Bay, they do great quality for drugstore. And then I think the obvious one that I do think I featured this also in my last year's Valentine Day video. So if you're looking for your ultimate Valentine's Day pink palette, then the Beauty Bay Berries palette. As I said, you can get these in different like size variations. I have the huge 42 pan version of this one. I do think you can manage with the 16 pan version, but this is what we're talking about. And yeah, I only got the bigger version of this one because I adore pink as a color. This has a lilac row here in the bottom that here, like it's up here, but because I'm holding this upside down. So so if you buy the 16 pan version of this one, you're not gonna get the lilacs, but otherwise you can probably already like see when I'm holding this one. There is like a lot of also like a repetition among these shades, so you can definitely do with a smaller palette. But if you're just looking for your ultimate pink palette for ultimate pink Valentine's Day looks, then you can't go wrong with this one. And again, Beauty Bay does very good quality for drugstore. Then the two high-end palettes that I have for this version. So let's now get that one that I already discussed earlier. So this is always, again, the Naughty Nudes from Huda Beauty is, I think I have also featured this in my earlier Valentine's Day videos. This is getting a bit on the older side at this point, so I do think that we might have to see at the end of this year that are we still good to go with this one. This unfortunately has one of the Petri-dish looking shades, but I try to usually ignore that one. You do get some diversity with this one, so you can kind of go to the burgundy route with this one, a more neutral kind of route with this one. But if you want, there are also some pinks in this one, so there is a bit variety here. But a lot of the looks will come out quite, I'd say, deep, and again more perhaps on the sultry side if you choose to use this one. But I do think that this quite well encompasses what most people think when they think about like Valentine's themed colors. Then something from Dior, so this was their sort of holiday palette from last year, so this is the Golden Masquerade palette, so this is how it's looking. I'm gonna show this again a bit closer because it says more like palette. You don't get super many looks with this one, and there is a one dot shade here, so unfortunately it's this sort of pinky peachy looking shade here, so that one unfortunately it really doesn't do anything. But with this one, because there's like only one true matte shade, which is the burgundy here, so you are quite like, there isn't a lot you can do with this one. And this again is a product that I always said that make the consideration or these quints in general something that you want to spend like your hard-earned money on. But I do think the burgundy sort of burgundy pink leaning look that I did with this one, it was quite Valentine's appropriate, and this is still a very I would say like easy formula to work with, but you aren't gonna get like anything super like sparkly or multichromy or diversity for that matter. But what I do think that if you just have this kind of one kind of Valentine's look that you like to do, I do think you can do that with this one, because again you are quite limited. You are limited with the shades, but the look will come out great. I do think the quality of this is still nice, but not the most versatile of the palettes that I have in my collection. So we are gonna end with the indie palettes, and actually with indie palettes there are 4 ones that I would recommend. So first one is this one. So this is the Glaminatrix Rich Romantic. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this palette because I do, in terms of color stories, this is like perfection. This has like, there's some reds, there's some pinks, then you have some bit of purple here and bit of neutrals, and the sparkly shades are beautiful. My only issue with this one is that all the shimmers in this one, they crease, and they don't crease a little bit, they do crease quite a lot at times when I use this one. But I do think like for Valentine's purposes, this is again maybe a palette that you do have a bit more options for. You can go the traditional red and pink route with this one, but you do have like other shades here, like you have a bit of the purples and you do have some of the neutrals here. And all of these sparkly shades, they look very beautiful on the eyelids. Some of the sparkly shades, they do have kind of similar shifts to them. There's quite a few like green leaning sort of shifty shades in this one, which they don't necessarily always go with the sort of like mattes that are included in this one, because the mattes are quite like this neutral, warm leaning matte, so that's something to consider. But I do think overall, if you are looking if you have this in your collection and you're thinking about Valentine's, I would maybe like look into this one, because I do still think the quality and the looks are very beautiful. This is then again a skin type thing, that are these gonna crease? It's actually quite odd, because I haven't seen like almost any other people in social media saying that the shimmers crease on them, so it could be just my palette kind of issue, and generally people have like laminatrixes, like eyeshadow quality. So as I said, because of the color story and because the looks are very beautiful, this has a place in my collection, and if you have this palette and it has worked out for you, definitely try it out during Valentine's time. Then something very humongous, and from which we are only going to be discussing the eyeshadow. So this is the P. Louise Sweet Escape palette. This was their holiday palette from last holiday, and this has a layer of like cheat products, but we're only going to be focusing on the eyeshadows. And let's and there's a mirror also, which is kind of makes things hard. So I think when I'm showing the okay, I'm hoping the eyeshadows are showing, because this is very difficult to work with. So I think it's pretty obvious why I'm recommending this for Valentine's. So this had the sort of candy cane type of theme to it, and I do think that with this one especially, like if you are more go to traditional, maybe these pink and peachy tones for Valentine's Day, I do think this is a palette that you should dig out. I do think there's also, if I don't remember, yeah, there's also like punchy pinks in this one. So I think this is like, if you got this for Christmas, this is also perfect for like Valentine's, because you can get a pretty traditional Valentine's Day kind of looks with this one. Also, something that P. Louise did with these holiday palettes is that their shimmer quality has been amped up. They are actually very sparkly. There is, I think, one multi-chrome and one like duochrome shade in this one. So they have been doing like something new with this eyeshadow formula. So again, if you got this during the Christmas time, Valentine's Day is probably also a good time to dig this one out, because this, I think, if this color story doesn't scream Valentine's Day, then I don't know what will. But the only downside of this one is that it's pretty bulky. But hey, at least if you got this and you want sort of like full face look, that is also possible with this particular palette. Then I think something that was actually an official Valentine's release last year. So this is the Glamlight Betty Boop palette. So this is how it's looking inside. This is actually the best Glamlight palette that I have tried like ever, and also from what I tried from the brand during last year, because last year was actually, I think, the first time I tried this particular brand. This does have the option to do like a full-on red look if you want to, but there are actually like more neutral leaning shades. I do believe there might also be a more-ish leaning shades in this one. So you actually do have a bit of options in terms of the fact that you can just do a very like on-the-nose red Valentine's look, but then you have some mauves and actually some neutrals to balance this out. And the shimmers in this one are absolutely beautiful. They aren't like multi-chrome-ish super shifty shimmers, but they are very sparkly shimmers, and they do create this sort of wet look on your lids. And I have always said that Glamlight formula is a great formula even for people who might not be that experienced with eyeshadow, because this is a more buildable eyeshadow formula. But if you got this for like last year, again, I would recommend for this Valentine's digging this one out, because I do think you can get some very awesome Valentine's look with this one. And then last one, I do think this was a limited edition, so you probably can't get this anymore, but this is the Warriors Wear Pink palette, and this is from Gourmand Girl. So this was their collaboration with Syria Soto, and the collaborator, she had a breast cancer, so I think this palette was also created to help her to get funds for her treatments, which I do think were a very great cause. This again, I do think actually this is one of the, because I did try from Gourmand Girl the sort of peach theme palette from last fall, and I wasn't that impressed with that one. But with this one, I do feel that this had very beautiful buttery mattes that built very easily, and also the shimmers in this one were beautiful and sparkly. I think all of the shimmers in this one, they do have at least a bit of a duochrome shift to them, and they were very like very smooth on the lid. So if you haven't been liking indie palettes because they have very textured shimmers, these shimmers were very smooth to use. use. But regarding the color story, this again is a color story that you can do a very traditional, I'd say pink and red leaning sort of Valentine's look, but there are also like other options because there is like there is a bit of purple in this one. You do have the kind of fun green shimmer in this one, and also you can get that with this one because there is like a full-on black here on the upper corner. So again, if you have gotten this before, maybe dig this out in your collection and use it this year during Valentine's Day, because I do think that the quality of this one is very good, and it's still, even though it's a bit an older palette, I do think it compares still quite well to some newer palettes that I have in my collection. And yeah, overall, I do think that you aren't going to be disappointed if you use this during the Valentine's Day. Those were all of my sort of picks for Valentine's Day palette recommendations for this year. Comment down below what kind of Valentine's palettes are you using during this year, or are you, for example, skipping Valentine's Day because it's not a thing? And or if you are planning to get some of the like new Valentine's launches, then comment down what are you planning to get. I'm definitely eyeing, because I do know that Gourmand Girl actually, which was sort of the last brand that we discussed, they have come out this sort of vampire themed Valentine's palette, so I'm kind of eyeing that one because I know that's gonna be on the Monolith Shop launch that actually gonna be going live on the week's Sunday that this video is probably gonna be going live before like Sunday, but it's going to be happening in the same week, so probably the Gourmand Girl palettes. And I do know that Cosmic Beauty has been teasing a Valentine's Day palette, and based on the like initial like imagery that they have shown, it's looking quite promising, so that is also something that I'm eyeing at currently. But of course we shall see that what I will be end up buying and what I will be end up skipping, because we're having a lot of indie launches, for example, currently, and unfortunately I can't be getting all of them, but we shall see. But there's definitely like a couple of like new Valentine's launches that I'm eyeing currently. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope I'll be seeing you soon in another video. Bye bye!